Welcome to Susies Selections for another week, brought to you by...
Are you getting everything you deserve? At Sinclair Wilson, we can answer all of your financial questions, optimize your tax position, and develop long-term strategies which will be very much to your advantage. Sinclair Wilson, for strength in numbers.
6 teams have the bye this round for the AFL, and we kick off on Friday night with Port Adelaide taking on Geelong over in Adelaide. Both teams have been rather inconsistent, but for me it's got to be Port Adelaide, simply because they're at home and they've started to notch up a gear in the last couple of weeks. Geelong wouldn't be without a chance, however. I feel this is a 60-40 game, but Port are my tip. On the Saturday games, we kick off with Gold Coast going up against Fremantle. Gold Coast are at home, but that won't stop Fremantle wanting to bounce back after a loss to Richmond last week. Nat Fyfe continues to be in Brownlow form, so I can't see Gold Coast getting pretty close to Fremantle on this occasion, and I think they'll win quite well away. In the second game of Saturday, West Coast host Essendon over at the old Subiaco or Patterson Stadium. In this game, I think West Coast will be a bit too strong. Essendon just haven't done it for me this season. They've been good at times, but for most of it, their patches have just not been that impressive. West Coast had a down week last week. I predicted North would beat them over in Hobart, but this week, with the return of Jack Darling, I think West Coast will win it and win it well. In the third game of the round, Sydney take on the Kangaroos. I think North Melbourne played very well last week, especially considering they kicking into the breeze in the last quarter, but in this game I'm tipping Sydney, simply because Sydney have too many forward options. Now on to the Sunday games. There's only 2 games on Sunday because of the byes, and we kick off with Collingwood against GWS. Last week, Collingwood managed to come from behind and defeat Melbourne late in the game. I think Collingwood will also win this game against GWS, not by much, and it realistically could go either way. GWS have been pretty impressive this season, but then Collingwood might have played above expectations as well. If it was in Sydney, I'd probably be going GWS, but the Melbourne home ground advantage, I'm going Collingwood by a few points. In the final game of Sunday, St Kilda host Melbourne in what 12 months ago would have probably been considered an absolute cellar dweller battle. This week, I think Melbourne will get up. They're playing pretty well, they pushed Collingwood all the way, and while St Kilda haven't been playing too bad themselves, I think Melbourne will get the job done. However, this match will be a lot better than the last 12 months of those 2 teams playing, and I think a lot more interest will be had from the general football public. Now on to Hampton League, Round 8. South Warrnambool take on Portland in the first match of the round. South Warrnambool had a win last weekend against Cobden, so I think they'll get the job done against Portland. Portland need the win to jump above Cobden, but right now it seems South Warrnambool have the enthusiasm and the young players that'll get the job done. In the second match, Cobden take on Port Fairy. This won't be an easy match for the Bombers because they haven't exactly been playing too well this season, but granted they have a very young side and they're on the improve. Hopefully they'll be able to push Port Fairy, but for me I can't see them beating them, and Port Fairy are my tip. In the third game, Koroit take on Hamilton. Hamilton are great netballers, but in the football they just haven't quite lived up to expectations. They're around the middle of the table at the moment, while Koroit are impressive in the top 2. They got beaten by Warrnambool earlier in the season, but in this match I think they'll have Hamilton covered pretty comfortably. The second last match of the round sees North Warrnambool host Camperdown. It's hard to see Camperdown win in this game. I think North Warrnambool will get the job done simply because Camperdown have been impressive for the first half of the season, but have lost their last few games. Last week they lost to Terrain Mortlake, and I think their youngsters have hit a bit of a wall. That doesn't mean they don't stand a chance, but against a strong team like North Warrnambool, I think the Eagles will get the job done. In the final game of the round, and I think this could well be the match of the round, Terrain Mortlake hosts Warrnambool. Warrnambool haven't lost a game all season. They've kicked over 20 goals in all but one game. They've had more than 40 shots on goal, and for me, they've got to be picked in this match. Terrain Mortlake, however, have had their own good form of late. They've won 5 on the trot and they're looking fantastic. If there was a time to take on Warrnambool, it was this week. But for me, Warrnambool will be a bit too strong, and unfortunately for Terrain Mortlake, they'll get close, but I can't see them getting the 4 points. Thank you for watching Susie's Selections. I'll be back next week. Happy tipping.